You're listening to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, episode number 87. Welcome to the Career Plus Life Catch-Up, a show anchored in reality to help you create a balanced life where you enjoy both your work and your life, because you don't have to choose. I'm your host, Cecile Ferry, a corporate executive turned coach and working mom. This is your place for insights, advice, and tools to optimize your career direction, balance, and confidence. I'm so glad you're here. Let's get into it. Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm also going to say welcome to March, even though I'm not sure how quickly in early March I'm going to be able to release this episode and when you'll be listening. But the truth is, I actually recorded this episode nearly a week ago on a Sunday, and then realized right at the end, after 45 minutes of recording, that the sound had been jumping and I couldn't use it. So here I am coming back a couple of days later. This is take 2. It won't be the same, but sometimes, I don't know, those things happen in life, right? So you have no other choice than doing it again. I hope the month of March is looking interesting and promising for you. I love that time of the year because for me, it's when really things really ramp up and start. Actually, at the end of March, towards the 20th, is the beginning of the astrological year when Aries season starts. So for me, that's really kind of the new year. That's when really the action starts. See how that resonates with you. I am particularly excited this month because I am starting my new astrology course. It's with Jordana Levine. For any of you who are interested, she has a great podcast called Lunar Lover. If you want to learn a few things about astrology without feeling overwhelmed, I highly recommend it. So I've got this kicking on for the next 8 weeks. Super excited. And then my daughter is turning 10 in 2 weeks. So that's a bit of an event in my house, but really looking forward to the next few weeks. So you may have pressed play and thought, what the hell is this topic? The discomfort zone. Who wants to hear about that? I know it sounds like bad news, but I swear to you, this is going to be really useful. So hang in there. So the background to this episode is that I have found myself more in discomfort lately, and I've been doing things that have really made me feel in that particular zone. Like I've been making a very large payment for my car recently. I've been placing a large order for something big and new. More on that later. I have been eating a pretty different diet over the last couple of weeks. And I'm in the middle of a recruitment for a coaching position, a global contract role. This is just bringing up, right, a lot of discomfort. So I've been feeling all the feels, and as I was in those instances a lot more, in a more concentrated way in the last couple of weeks, I've realized how critical it is to be in that space, right? Because I really believe that that space is the catalyst for growth and for the change that we are looking for. So that's why I want to come on here and break it down for you. We will talk about discomfort in a nice way, right? But I will be real with you, you know my style. And we will talk about, why it's important and how we typically hit that zone and what happens and how to really overcome any resistance to that and get yourself through that towards the other end, which is the change that we all want to do. So I hope you're excited. Let's get into it. Okay, so first things first, what am I talking about? Because you might be like, what's this zone of discomfort? So this happens when you take an action, usually something new. I'm not talking here about mental discomfort ahead of doing something. I'm really talking about all the feelings that happen when you take an action, because according to me, that's when you are in discomfort. The rest is just anticipation. It's just mind chatter. It's just thought. It's just stuff, right? So here I'm talking about concrete action, and you will have a reaction, and it will be in your mind and in your body. And you know what? It feels bad. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It feels hard. It feels a bit yucky, like you're going maybe to be a bit sick, like it's just stretching you and it's taxing energetically. The words that come to mind to describe it is a bit like a cocktail of fear, resistance, survival instinct kicking in, mental fatigue and effort, and sometimes those physical symptoms. So it's not butterflies. And you may feel like restless physically. So there's the nerve-wracking part of it and the potential like sickness that comes with it. Because you are literally pushing yourself to do something outside of your comfort zone. Something that feels scary, daunting, unknown. So it's normal to have a reaction to it. Otherwise, we'll be in danger all the time without knowing it, right? So this is our body and mind working normally. But the first part I want to ask you here is, when did you feel that? When was the last time, and when can you recall in your life where those moments where you just felt like, oh my God, this is big, like I'm going through something here. So I just did that exercise for me. I gave you some recent example of things, but back in the days, the bigger things, like the day I hired my career coach to decide on my next change, I felt it. The day I walked into my coaching course, my qualification to become a coach, like being even on the train there, I really remember journaling and feeling like, whoa, this was heavy and big. And then the whole entire course pretty much, or when I did my first workshop in a corporate as a coach, and I remember it was at Deloitte, and I felt really outside of my comfort zone, even though I looked very at ease and I smiled throughout it. Or also when I designed something new last year that I'll talk about later, but I was challenging in discomfort every step of the creation process. So think about it, what it is for you. It can also be like those big life changes when you're going through a divorce, a separation, sometimes like a redundancy. Like it's really intense. And typically it's things like when we are paying something big, like making a big investment into something, or we're signing a contract, signing up for something big, or we are speaking out, or we're creating something that will be put out in the world. Like anywhere where you make some kind of a stand and it has some impact, like we are likely to be in discomfort. I will say it's very easy to go through life never being in discomfort. And I'm not saying it's bad. Like some of us just need the stability and don't like doing that, don't thrive doing that. And I kind of believe maybe we need some people to kind of give us that stability, to just hold the same frequency, if you like. So if that's you, don't feel bad. If you're like, no thanks, I am not for discomfort. But there's a difference. Nobody wants to be in discomfort, but some of us will know that we really, really want growth and we really want those changes, while some other people will just be happy where they are. Now I'm coming to my first big thought for this podcast, which is the discomfort is the way to what you desire, full stop. Like, I'm yet to see another way. And if you do know another way, let me know. But I really believe that what you really want deep down is always somewhere outside your comfort zone. Sorry, bad news. Otherwise, you will already have it today. You have it pretty quickly and by yourself, right? The thing is, if you want your new desire to become a new reality, be it a new career change, new friends, a new romantic relationship, a new home, more money, like whatever new big thing in your life, you have to sort of travel through that sort of envelope and go beyond what you currently have and get through a zone of discomfort before you reach your quote unquote new destination. This took me a very long time to understand because my makeup, my conditioning is to avoid taking risks. It's to avoid being in discomfort because it's to avoid failing. So that is why it took me so long to understand, because I spent a lot of my life in my earliest years to do everything I could to stay in control and to stay in comfort. I was like, no. This is the experience that I want, and how do I make that happen? So I didn't allow myself to be in discomfort. So I kind of deprived myself of so many shifts and changes, or at least I have delayed them. I have slowed them down because I resisted being in my discomfort zone. But now that I've been more and more into it, I realized that this is the pathway. It's like it's the sesame, it's the window, it's the portal. Think of it like a window that opens up your reality and shifts you into a new state. So when you are in discomfort, it's like it opens up a bridge into your current existence. And through that bridge, something is able to stretch and expand that wasn't there before. Does that make sense as an analogy? Another one that I like to use is, think of it like your life has got different rooms, like a place, and you occupy certain rooms that you're familiar with, and the light is on in those rooms, and you spend all your time there. The discomfort zone is going into another room, potentially with a little corridor there, and going in, it's dark in there when you first get there, and you look for the light and you turn the light on, right? And then you're out of discomfort because you're starting to understand it. But the discomfort zone is leaving the room that's lit up to go in the dark, and then staying in the dark when it doesn't feel good for not a lot of time, and then kind of fumbling your way and then going somewhere else that you don't know and finding the light. So I hope either of those metaphors can help you see how the discomfort zone isn't a danger zone. It's actually an expansion zone. And I would actually prefer to call it the growth zone than the discomfort zone. The discomfort is just the physical sensation of it. That's the byproduct of being in that growth, because our body and mind are working exactly the right way, which is to send us signals when things are different, when things look a bit weird, when things look unknown. I talk about this in nearly every coaching session, because clients come up and said, oh, I'm feeling this discomfort, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, as I'm trying to change. And I always tell them, everything is very normal. So I'm going to link with that today as well. As you are coming out of what feels normal and known and familiar, you will feel discomfort. So now that you're on board with that definition and kind of the purpose of discomfort or growth, right? It's like growing pains. And it's like that rite of passage, that induction. It's like when you try it on for size. I hope you're on board that this is good. This is part of the path in life. And the problem is, we get taught, and you just need to look at anything out there in the media from maybe what your parent told you. Like, we get taught to avoid this at all costs. We get taught how to stay comfortable. From a media and consumer point of view, this is because it helps selling stuff. We get told, numb anything to stay comfortable, numb any feelings, numb any disappointment in your life. You know, if things are not the way that you want them to be, like use food, use chocolate, use wine, you know, use shopping, use video games, whatever they are. Those things create a lot of things that we buy and that we need and that we consume. And so that is good for money. So that is why no one wants to say to you, hey, how about you just sit with yourself and you get through it, because then you won't be eating or consuming anything, and that doesn't serve them. So that's the problem, right? That's happening on one hand. And the other hand, like I've touched on, is you may be raised in a more protective manner. It's well-meaning. The intention is right. It's about protecting you from dangers and all those things. But it's taken a bit too far in that you're really afraid to take any risk. You're really afraid to fall flat on your face. So you do everything you can to avoid it and to stay in comfort. And that, my friend, I've learned the hard lessons of that. That is blocking your growth, unfortunately. So whilst it comes from a good intention, it's actually not serving that purpose. Now, I also want to say that we can endure discomfort, and that is not spoken about enough. We all fear it, right? And fair enough. Like, it's not pleasant. No one wants to look forward to it. But the reality is we can feel bad and be okay. I think this isn't spoken about enough. This is always about how to avoid feeling bad. This is about, soothing yourself. And the thing is, we forget that we have the ability to withstand any feelings, good or bad, right? So we are designed for both comfort and discomfort. We designed for it. Like, even from back in the ages of the cave, like the man was going outside of the cave. So it was already designed back then to withstand the risk, the adversity, the potential dangers, the threats, right? So it's part of our makeup. We have the right tools and systems in us to endure it, and it won't damage us. That's the thing. So yes, it's not fun, but it's perfectly okay. It's not something to be afraid of. And the best thing, it passes. Remember my metaphor about turning the light on? You get to that room, the light will be on once you're there. And then it passes and it doesn't feel uncomfortable anymore. And then you know the path. And as you're doing it more and more, it actually becomes more comfortable to be in discomfort, because then you feel like you can go and explore another room and another room and another room, because every single time you go back on your feet. So I just want you to maybe look at it that other way. If you've been thinking prior to this episode, like, discomfort sucks and no thanks, Cecilia, I don't want it. Like, what if you actually told yourself that you can endure it, and you can prove that to yourself, and you can get curious when it happens as to what's really happening with you, and you can sort of be watching from an outside point of view and learn maybe this side of yourself, this capacity you didn't know you had. And on that note, I will finish by adding that some of us are better equipped to deal with discomfort, and some of us kind of embrace and flourish more through discomfort than other people. This is because it depends on your personality style. And I'm going to do a little plug for your birth chart here and the astrology, because who you are as a sign really will influence. Like, some signs really thrive with always chasing the next thing, evolving, pushing the boundaries, like think Aries, for instance, or sometimes Pisces, because that's a very fluid energy, or Sagittarius likes to just be high up in the cloud and explore, right? So some of those signs really like to go, and like to try new things, and they like to explore. So for them, it comes more naturally, and it actually doesn't take any energy. They already have all that natural energy in them. Some of the signs, and it may be you, that's my case, I'm Capricorn, especially the earthy signs, Capricorn, Virgo, and Taurus. We do like things that are here, that are steady, and we like to hang on to that. We don't really like risk. We don't really like stepping outside of that. We want more of what we have, type of thing. And there's nothing wrong with either version. I'm just describing it so that you get to see that you may be potentially fostered to do this, or you may be potentially hindered. And that doesn't mean you can't do it. That just means you need to put more effort and more energy into it. AKA me going the discomfort zone when I just really like things that I know, that are here, that are structured, that are organized, right? But I can do it like anyone. So it doesn't matter which star sign you are, you can be in discomfort. Okay, so now we're going to break down the process that I am talking about here when we're moving from comfort into discomfort. So the first stage, what happens is we're living our life and we are getting clues. We are being guided. It's often our intuition speaking. It's speaking through signs. It's speaking through hunches, through things that we might see on social media, through some of the content that we consume, something people will say to us. Like, some of us are really good at noticing those things. Some of us less so, just not practicing it. But life always has a way of talking to you, your higher self, your intuition, right? So we hear those clues, and pretty much 99% of the time, it is suggesting things that are outside of our comfort zone. It's not just like, yeah, just do one more exercise of this that you already do. No, it's something new and it's something different. And sometimes it even feels really weird or illogical. And what happens is about 90% of us will therefore shut it down and avoid it and pretend it didn't happen and just like move on and forget about it, right? So if that's you, you're in good company. Most of us do that because even just the thought of it makes us uncomfortable and we're like, no, thank you, right? And we just keep going and nothing happens there. We're not even entering the discomfort and we go around and round and round like that for months and for years in cycles. Am I right? Can you think of those things? It could have been a career inspiration. It could have been a creative inspiration. It could have been an idea to move somewhere in the world. It could have been a project with your family, with your friends, with yourself. It could have been linked to a relationship and you just like, you kind of saw it, felt it, and it kind of became a goal for half a fraction second, but you didn't really follow up on it. You didn't consider it. You didn't kind of enter into a mini agreement, so to speak, with it in your mind thinking, all right, yeah, okay, I'm going to do that. Or it just stays in your head and it just goes around and you're ruminating, and you don't know how to move to the next step. So if that's you, like we've all done that, a lot of us are there and it's fine, but you can't stay there. And that's when you might need a coach because that's the fastest way to actually move somewhere. Otherwise, you can just spin around like that in that cycle of having ideas, inspiration, and goals and just spinning around because discomfort is just plain too scary. And you don't even like consider it, so you don't take action. And that's always a sign I see. I always ask my clients when they come in, like, what have you been doing about this thing? And 99% of the time, the answer is kind of a version of nothing. And that's fine. It's because I know, I can understand that their mind is just overriding the cycle happening and bringing them back to comfort. So don't feel bad. We all do that. But the thing here, as much as this is normal, as I said before, we are wired not to do the thing. That's the weird paradox, right? We want to do the thing, but our mind is wired not to do it. Let that sit for a minute. Your mind will actually want to say, yeah, no, we're putting the brakes on because this is new, this is dangerous. So your mind will play against you, but your mind is not you. It's not your inner self and your core desires. It's just a brain, a part of your brain that is trying to protect you and keep you alive. So that is functioning normally, full stop. It's to maintain you in safety. But the thing is, you will never make progress if you don't override it. You would just stay where you are if you give power to that mind. And B, that mind can be wrong because it tends to perceive things as a threat. But the whole important word here is perceived. And it's wrong a lot of the time. Like, I love doing that exercise before I am embarking on a new journey or some kind of a change or transformation. I write down what my mind thinks is going to happen or could potentially happen. And I keep that on my phone. And months later, when the thing has happened or it's unfolded, I go back and I see what my mind was afraid of. And I realize all the time that pretty much none of that ever happened. So that is teaching myself that my mind is misguided. Thank you very much, right? So that's why we can't let the mind stop us at that stage, and we need to move forward. And that means choosing to let comfort behind, because like the great Brené Brown says, you can only have courage or comfort. You can't have both. So at that point in time, you need to make a decision. And any of us that are trying to move forward and taking comfort with us are not moving anywhere. Trust me, I've tried. And I would also argue that there is discomfort in actually not going after what you want, and especially staying there in the long run. So that cycle I was just describing, to me, that's uncomfortable. Because when you stay there, if you're not going after what you want, you have pain. You have misalignment, you have fatigue, you have a lack of inspiration, you feel drained because what you're doing is not what you want. There's frustration that can turn into irritation onto other people. There may be some wishful thinking going on, you're kind of escaping reality, just kind of bargaining and saying, if only, or, postponing and waiting when this thing is going to happen. So you kind of, have those mental little tricks to yourself, kind of buying yourself more comfort because you're running out of that comfort. So you're faking it, so to speak, and you just staying in that cycle where you don't have what you want. And you just super clear every day on the lack or absence of it. That to me doesn't feel like comfort. So in a way, there isn't a lot of choice. It's like, which discomfort do you want? Do you want the discomfort of not growing and just think about your goal but never feeling that you're making any progress towards them? Or you want the discomfort that comes through progressing towards your goals? I know which one I choose now. So think about it that way. So there is, to summarize, no other way, I find, or it's at least the fastest and the least painful way in the medium to long term, if you like, because short term, it doesn't feel good, but it passes. And likewise, like what we tend to do when we don't fully go into discomfort is we're looking for quick fixes. We're looking for sometimes free things where we don't have to go deep fully into it. We're not going all in. We're I'm just dipping my little toe here so I'm not feeling too much discomfort. So I'm just doing the free stuff, or I'm doing the very cheap entry version of that quick solution. That is not going into discomfort. That's cheating, right? So discomfort is you rip the Band-Aid and you get into it. And I'm now going to get into how to do that. So now I'm going to get really practical. You know me. I'm going to tell you how to do this. The number one thing to do is to build accountability with someone. So it can be a coach, it can be a friend, it can be your partner, but someone, who has your best interest at heart, someone that wants you to grow into the best version of yourself. And just commit with them and set a target date. Because once you've committed with someone that you're going to do something, there is no backing away. Second step, schedule it and do it. It's actually second and third step because it's two different skill sets. Scheduling it, number one, so you're committing your time. It's like you're making an appointment with yourself. And when the time comes, you do it. So that's the second skill, which is not backing down from a commitment that you've made, not letting yourself off the hook, not finding excuses. It's yes, it's uncomfortable, but you can expect it to be. It's not going to feel good when you sit in your diary and it's going to be that time of the day. It's not going to magically feel better. So expect it. Expect that it's going to feel crap and be all right, but we are doing it. And actually, sometimes some people, they need a 10-minute timer. Do that if you need that to actually get you to do it. But what you want is you do it. Then the next step is you have to feel the feelings of discomfort. And literally you have to get through the experience. Feel that those emotions I described at the beginning, and do not escape them. Do not push them down. Do not numb them with something else, right? Because we want to experience them. Why? Because it will teach us that we are okay as we do that. And I find, for me, it teaches me that, okay, I'm in the discomfort zone here. I must be doing something right. This is good for me. I reassure myself and I tell myself, wow, okay, cool, great. I'm going somewhere with this. Like, this must be a sign that I am on the path to grow to the next version of myself, and therefore I need to do that, and this is good for me, right? So you go through this and you withstand the bad feeling. Take it a bit as a dare for yourself, and then see how you feel afterwards, because I tell you that's where the gold is. You look back, because it doesn't last. The feelings will settle. It might take a day. It might take only a couple of hours. It might take overnight. But afterwards, you feel like a superhuman. That's how I do, at least. Like, I feel like these video game characters that when they go from one world to the next, or they gain lives, they just like supersize themselves. That's how I feel once I have ventured through the discomfort zone and come out the other end. So I find like you bank so much self-confidence because you've dared yourself, you've done it, and you are through with it. Like, if you haven't experienced that in the last couple of years, like, do yourself a favor and do that for yourself. And you can start small, but it's such an amazing feeling. And finally, the last stage is kind of the recovery or self-care, if you need anything to bring you back in balance and bring back your nervous system to a stage where it feels like it's okay. Because your nervous system is not going to love the discomfort zone at all. It's going to send you the signals that you should run and you should go back to safety. But we're not doing that. So you just got to calm your nervous system. And you can do that through belly breathing. That's the easiest, cheapest, quickest thing to do. Be like, we're okay. And telling your mind. I even talk to myself. I'm like, this is okay. This is the new normal. This may feel weird, but I'm getting to learn new things here. And I'm just adjusting to new frequencies. So you just have to attune and calm your mind that way. So this is how the change cycle goes. And if you've been through it, I'm sure you can map it back in your head. Or if you're looking at it going forward, this is the path, my friend. I am afraid there is no other secret magic path that you can take and takes you straight there or with less pain. But trust me, I've been doing it over and over. You don't need to know the full picture, because often that means you need to know the path. You need to be in comfort. You just need to take a step and a leap. And they say the bigger the leap, the faster you will grow, right? And this can be where you're at. If you're used to discomfort, just try to increase the leap. I'm starting pretty small for myself, so I can increase them later, take bigger risks, like go further outside your comfort zone. But maybe you just start with doing a bit of that. Make different choices, like explore something that you don't know. But as you do that, this actually feels like you're slowing yourself down. But the minute you do it, it's like time just gets collapsed and you are there. You are the next version of yourself. So it's actually the fastest way to get there. You take the leap, and then once you've leapt, like, wow, you're ready for more. The issue here, or I would say more probably the hidden challenge, maybe why I was thinking we really don't like the discomfort, because I'm like, why don't we? It's part of our evolution. We've got the kit. That's how life works. Like, why don't we just all get taught that and we just get on with it? I think we may be scared of who we will become in the process. Because let's face it, when we go into another room of our life, we turn a different light on, like things can change sometimes quite significantly. that might impact our friends, that might impact our relationship, that might impact the money that we have, the house that we live in, all of that. And once it's going to give us what we want, like part of that change process when we leave the discomfort zone, or even when we enter it, is we leave some of ourselves behind. We leave some of the old behind. And I think when we even, like I speak from my own experience, when I'm going through the discomfort zone, I feel like I don't recognize myself sometimes. And that's a weird feeling because I do like to know that it's me, but I have to just hang that judgment for a minute and not try to look back at myself and go, what am I doing here? Is this really me? But I think there's really a piece of being a bit scared of the version of ourselves that we're going to become that we're not familiar with yet. And that is where trust comes into play. And I like to pull that trust card every time. These are exactly what I go through myself when I'm in those situations. And I scare my own self, like, who am I? Where am I going with this? And then I tell myself, just breathe, just release. It's okay. And I always tell myself it wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for the right reason and if it wasn't something that's meant to be for me. Because you only get ideas in your head of what's meant to be for you. They don't hint. So you wouldn't want that goal or that desire if it wasn't a good, enriching reason for you. So stop talking yourself out of it. Stop rationalizing or finding excuses not to do it. And remember, staying in that cycle. You are meant for more and you know it. And more is through your growth zone or your discomfort zone. So let's all collectively buckle up and think about ways that this month we can start taking an action, something new towards the goal that we have, and not fear the discomfort. And actually make it a goal to stay in the discomfort, get through the experience, and reflect back afterwards. I would love to hear back from your experiences after listening to this podcast. Let me know how it goes when you experience it for yourself. It can become literally quite thrilling once you've done it a couple of times. It'll be like going through a roller coaster, It feels really scary, but it's good to really put yourself in a completely different space and just realize what you can do with it and evolve onto the next version of yourself. And if you need support for this, because let's be honest, a lot of us need support. Like I still need support myself and I hold people accountable to my own goals as well. And then I'm getting much better at just my own self-discipline and pushing myself, especially to get the thing done when I've scheduled it. So for me, that's what I want to focus on. So just see for you in that process that I broke down, where are you getting stuck right now? Is it just because you're not even taking the action and you just shushing it? Or is it because you're not scheduling it? Or because you're scheduling but not doing it? Or you're doing it but then you're stopping yourself because it feels awful? Like where are you falling off the rail? And just with the aim is just to stay on the rail. And this is where career coaching or life coaching can help you with any of those goals, be it a career goal or a personal goal. Like the stakes are high, especially with career when, there's so much linked into it in terms of family support and financial support for yourself and everybody else. Like there's a lot at stake. So it's very hard to do it by yourself. So if you do need the guidance, you can reach out and book a discovery call on my website at careercatchup.com. It's easy. It's 30 minutes, just you and I talking about your goals and where you are in that cycle. Where are you stuck? And I will tell you what you need and the approach and how coaching can support you. And then it's your call. So if that sounds like something you want to play with and get into in the month of March or beyond, please reach out. I thank you all for being here. I wish you good luck because I know it's not fun, but I'm so proud of you for listening, for taking this in, and for, just making those leaps into your life. Like if everybody listening to this podcast can take one leap outside of their comfort zone, collectively, we've definitely made the world grow to the next step. And that's what really inspires me. So thank you so much for being here. Wish you all a great rest of the month, and I'll speak to you in the next episode. Bye everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to find out more information, you can visit my website at careercatchup.com. There you will find blog articles, free resources, a self-study course for your career direction, and ways to work with me. It's at careercatchup.com. I hope to continue to connect with you and support you. Talk to you soon.